But in the Black community, there is a whole lot of Chris and Paiges. Chris and Paige in the Black community is an epidemic. The dysfunctionality. What did Paige go through when she was growing up that got her to the point where this is what she accepts in her life? This is what she's fighting for. Chris, you out here baby making? You out here being nasty with your hygiene and your seed and all of this? That ain't, I don't know, but I know Paiges. I know Paiges. I know Chris's. I know a lot of broken homes in the Black community. So all I'm saying is, I know we want to be mad at this situation, and we should be, but we also need to see this as like a wake-up call and a learning lesson to say, this is happening. We got to fix this. This is not okay. There are guys like this manipulating women, and it's in abundance. This is not just on that. This is just on display. The fact that this is on a international television show, like, this is just being depicted on a grand scale, but this is happening in everyday households in America, all across America, UK, Africa, wherever. So we all need to, like, we have the luxury of, sitting on the outside looking in, casting all these judgments, you know what I'm saying? Analyzing human behavior. But, we're all human. We've all had our insecurities. We've all been the one falling for the okie doke at some point in life. We all know people in our life suffering from abuse. What are we doing about that? I don't know. That's all I had to say. I don't know the answers. I would love to get you guys' perspective on that. But that's just, after I watched this episode, I was like, God, like, what is going on right now? I don't know. That's all I had to say.
Yeah, still.
So I will say I have been a Paige, right? You take someone with a personality that's kind of dormant and doesn't fight the status quo, and you add someone who's a daddyless daughter. I think she is a daddyless daughter. I haven't seen her father in any of this. She is a daddyless. Your father can be in the house and you can still be a daddyless daughter.
Yeah.
So that's, you take the personality of a yes ma'am or someone who just does not fight status quo, plus the Black church, which sometimes can be cultish in the way that they push. And listen, I am just as religious as any, but there's some churches that they push the message of submission in a way that kind of almost takes your power as a female away. And that's not how God created it. So you take these three factors and you mix it up and you get a Paige, right? You literally get a Paige. So I feel sorry for her. Like when you look at that scene where they were driving from last episode and they were driving in the car and he says, I'm gonna make this ride a living hell. And Paige, all about 5'5", stood up trying to hold this man back. This man is taller than you and bigger than you. How you gonna hold him back though? You can tell that the mentality of like, I need to make sure that we keep things under wraps is so ingrained in her that she does not even see how irrational she is being, because that is who she is. She's become an irrational person, period. Every part of her choice she makes is irrational because she's been indoctrinated into an irrational cult in every aspect of it. Where's her father? Her father showed up and they had this conversation as if, he's in his life, he's in her life, but where is he right now? Where is he? So just as he's abandoned her here, he's abandoned her at every step of her childhood, at every step of important parts of her life. And that's why she is over here thirsty for a man who just told a pastor he's in love with another woman to whisper into your ear, I'm falling in love with you. Not even that I'm in love with you. You're in love with somebody else. And you're about to fall in love with me, and I'm supposed to take that and smile? At least if you tell me I'm in love with you too, we're on the same playing field. But she is way ahead of me. And I'm supposed to be smiling now? It's because she's so broken. She doesn't even, there is no Paige there. She is empty. She is a shell of everything she's picked up on her way to becoming to whatever age she is. There is no person in there that can make any decision at all about nothing. And if she does not do the work on herself, she will be miserable. She will be shackled to men like Chris over and over and over and over again. And I think the real question is really talking about how she got there, so that little girls who are coming can really see the pattern of how it's like little blocks that are building. They build little by little by little. And by the end of it, you ask yourself, how did I get in this mess? Because you make choices, little by little making choices, and it got you to that road. So hopefully we can learn from this, as Maria was saying, and, teach the little girls that are coming, or teach ourselves, because a lot of us are Pages and we don't even want to acknowledge it. A lot of us. When he tells you he's coming at 6 and he shows up at 8:30 and you're like, okay, let's go anyway, you're a Paige. No, you really are. When you keep moving your boundaries a little bit, it may not be to the detriment of you in the same way that Paige is going through. But if you keep moving your boundaries, how many of us don't have people in our church, older women in our church who have been married for 50 years and will tell you, oh yeah, he pulled a knife on me in year 7, but we're here.
It's true, though.
So this is thing, it happens. And she's waiting on her miracle. This is her day 6. And her day 6 is my fiance is pregnant. She's hoping to get to year 50 so she could tell this story to somebody. So we can't act like we don't hear about this in the church, or we don't hear about this all around us. I know I've been a Paige. How many of y'all been Pages? I don't know, but I've been. There we go.
Who's next? Go on, Gail.
So I was deeply triggered last night. Hard time sleeping. Talked about it with my therapist today. He was like, hey, why do you stop watching the show? I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to try and figure this out. Stop watching the show. But, Paige reflects a lot of toxic spirituality in my eyes. I've been saying this week after week, using words like heavily indoctrinated. I love what Kenny said. Her community, she is indicative of a community that celebrates enduring of abuse, emotional or spiritual abuse, masked as virtue. And so it becomes really hard if you're a young person in Jesus, a young Christian, you just got saved or whatever, it becomes hard to discern between people celebrate these list of attributes, but I don't know what's real and what's not, right? But if you've been in the game long enough, and I appreciate, Joe, I appreciate you talking about, being a Paige. I appreciate you talking about the status quo. If the status quo in a lot of Black churches or just spiritual communities all across America, just American evangelicalism, is of women to submit to toxic masculinity or toxic personalities in romantic relationship, it becomes confusing where the boundaries lie and what our agency is and what is empowering or what is disempowering. It becomes confusing to know when to bow out. It becomes confusing when to say no. It becomes confusing what divorce really is and what it means. It becomes confusing as to what is godly and what is not in a marital relationship. And so the problem is Paige reflects a lot of toxic spirituality. She has internalized it so much so she doesn't know what she believes. Chris is gaslighting her. She don't know what's reality. Paige blows up on a phone after Chris says he wants a divorce. And we're all like looking at the screen like, this is when you blow up? This is it? You blowing up now? This is what you want to do? You gonna expose him? Fam, you expose yourself. I'm looking at this. I thought it was the biggest plot twist in the whole show, where I realized Paige is actually the villain. Paige is the villain, y'all. I was like, man, all this time I'm having all this compassion for her, and I still do. I'm slightly being tongue-in-cheek here, but essentially I was just like, you know, she's idolized marriage. She's made the decision to be on this show. She has to accept responsibility of this man. This is 5-6 days in. He's giving you red flag after red flag after red flag after red. At some point, you got to stop ingesting the bullshit. At some point, you need to own up to the fact that you keep believing lies. So it was deeply upsetting. Number two, the bar is too low for Paige. Her self-esteem is in hell. We don't know where it is.
It is in hell.
What you are a realtor and you're an accountant. Do the math. How do you value yourself? What does your self-respect mean to you? What do you want? I'm like, Paige, you're an accountant. Have you counted your value? Have you analyzed the real estate of your heart? How are you as an asset, as a wife? If you're a valuable person, what are you getting from Chris? If this was a transaction, what are you getting from him? He's having a hard time saying he likes you. What does that mean? I just don't get it. And so I found it very hard to watch her and Pastor Cal on the couch. I'm sure everybody did. But it was like, you are deferring to Chris in a way that makes it seem like you really just want to be married. Like you really must like him and like what he's doing. I found it appalling. I didn't understand. Women, we produce 12 eggs a year. Men produce millions of sperm. And Paige hasn't counted the value of discerning who to allow in her life to impregnate her.
Hey.
Listen, if the math don't math.
It's not my thing.
The proportions don't make sense. You want to give him a honeymoon baby.
Oh, yeah.
And he don't like you. How you gonna be a good mother? What you gonna teach your daughter? I was shaken. How can a woman this intelligent be so indiscriminate about her body? Now, again, I'm not saying, she shouldn't have had sex. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, why aren't you testing the spirit that Chris is giving you? Why aren't you really checking in with yourself? And a lot of what I'm seeing, what I observed in her, is how disembodied she is from her own emotions. Paige has been idolizing marriage so much. She has ingested so much toxic spirituality. She is disembodied from healthy emotions as a woman. She is disembodied. She cannot tap into. She said a couple of things that I found was indicative of her trying to tap into her real emotion. She was like, well, I felt disconnected on my wedding night. I felt like sex was a duty rather than connecting with my partner. I didn't want to upset him. Really, Paige? She's very disconnected. She needs therapy. She needs a very safe place where she can unpack how she got here, the toxic spirituality, the things that she's believing that's out of context, that's unbiblical. And I think the third thing is I feel like she's spiritually ignorant, emotionally immature, and also reflects poverty mindset. I'm not even going to talk about the poverty mindset. It's easy. Crumbs. She accepts crumbs. I don't know what to do with that. But I just don't see Paige owning her body. I don't see Paige internalizing the fact that she is a temple of the Holy Spirit. If you are a Christian, you know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. You have to guard and protect that. It has nothing to do. It's not just to do with sex and sexuality. It has everything to do with honoring the fact that you're a person. You're supposed to guard and protect yourself from the emotional and spiritual abuse out there. Jesus said, you are like sheep among wolves in this world. Wolves. Paige is out here like, let me just go throw myself to the wolves. I'm not saying Chris is a wolf, but hear me out. I don't think she knows how to guard or protect herself. Somebody said this, the men in her life have failed her. Somebody also said that the community, somebody said her mom has failed her. There's a part of me that's like, her mom might be praising her. I don't know. I don't know. That's how toxic this might be. And the last point I'll make, because this was something that naturally came up to me while I was watching the show, Chris has better boundaries than Paige. I'm going to give him that. Chris, from day uno, yes, he manipulated her. Chris was like, I don't like you. Day 3, he was like, it ain't matching. Day 4, it ain't matching. Day 5, it ain't matching. You know what? Day 5, we got to head out. I'm going to get a flight to Chicago. Okay? Chris comes back after Chicago, says, I'm going to get a divorce. You know what? Chris has better boundaries than Paige. Chris has read the out clause and the termination clauses of his contract and was like, I have power. I have agency. And Chris is reflective of the fact that a lot of women do not exert agency of getting out of toxic relationships, friendships, and situations. Whereas men, specifically in romantic relationships, it don't have to be that deep. They don't want you, they're gonna find an out. Yeah. They drop and move on. And it's not that I respect him for that. It's just interesting to see the heavy contrast. Like, Paige, you have every right to leave him and you're still on a couch trying to make it work. I don't know. So I'm deeply saddened. The show has actually been saddening. I'm sure like everybody else, but this particular couple, like, yes, I feel like we should go to a prayer meeting just for Paige, because there's so many Pages out here. Some of, and we might reflect one element of her and not the whole entirety, but sometimes I'm just like, I'm watching this show and I'm amazed that she endures so much, and we're not even done. There's like what, 7 more episodes?
Something like that.
So that's my piece.
Appreciate it, girl. Got Lola and Jess last, so who wants to go? Oh, Jess, you're not going? I hear that. Lola?
For me, the last thing I'd want to say really is that after these different sermons I've heard from the ladies, I think the first thing we want to do is bind the spirit of Paige. I think in some shape or form, you can accept your responsibility of the Paige thing being on you moving your boundaries, shifting them every time he does something. So we bind that spirit of Paige. We definitely bind it, because it's going to be hard. She's a hard picture to look at. She's a hard reflection. So it's not the whole thing that we'll be thinking of for her. And I think the second thing is that she knew from the following day, he wasn't that into her. If he's not that into you, he's not that into you. Cut it and be done with it. That was it. But I think she kept pushing it. Of course, it goes back to the type of abuse she had in her life. I don't know. I would just say at this point, really,